Hey, it's me, Austin Space, and I just got done playing Shadow Complex Remastered. First of all, as always, you can check out any of my written reviews over at yeahiplaygames.com. There will be a supplementary review up there for this as well, if you'd prefer to read that. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do is I have the limited run copy of Shadow Complex Remastered. This is actually the first purchase I ever made with them. I didn't really know much about them at the time. I believe this is one of their earlier ones. I believe this is their 17th one. So that is when I jumped in and sort of got going on that limited run jam. So let's open this up and we'll show you what's inside first, okay? So, excuse me. So, here we go. And there it is, made by Chair. This is the game, of course, right there. Nothing too special. I don't need to remove that. Back in the old days, so a few different things. You get this little, it's not really a guide or anything. It's just this little, I don't know what you call it, little pamphlet thing. Back in the old days, you used to get these little stickers with every one of the limited run games that you got. So you can peel those off. I've chosen not to, just to leave it in there. And the other thing I used to get was you get this little like postcard thing, and then it would serve as a checklist. Let's see here. See, so there'd be a little checklist on the back of all the past ones, so you could collect them all. I don't think they realized how successful they were going to be. So this is, it's pretty neat how far they've come. I think they have over, or almost 200 games already released. So that is what you get in the game. And I like to keep them all in here. They didn't come packaged like that, but I like to keep them all in there so I can easily keep it together. So yes, it is limited run 17 is this game. Okay? So that's how I decided to play it. So this game actually came out in 2009. The original one before they remastered it. And it was one of those Xbox arcade titles. And at the time, the indie scene was its own genre, which is a weird thing to think because, you know, now the indie scene is so big. It's almost too much of the indie scene, quite frankly, some people are saying. And back then it was just like indie game. That was it. It wasn't like indie platformer or indie RPG, or it was just indie. Very weird. But, you know, like, video games get in this weird space, you know, because the medium is still so new. I guess it's based off of some novel or something like that, and they released the game, and they released this Metroidvania, and a lot of people were very happy about that, because there weren't a lot of Metroidvanias at the time. In my review, you'll see that I say, jump to 2018, huge glut of them. Huge glut of independent Metroidvanias. You know, we got Guacamelee 2, we've got Chasm, we've got Hollow Knight. You know, all of these have come out. And there's even more. There's so much more I'm not even mentioning right now. So while this did sort of spark that need for it, you know, that love for it again, you'll see that I'm not as high on it as other people would have been. Maybe if I played the game at the time it came out, I would have loved it a lot more. And my expectations for an indie game might have been different. But now, the games that it helped inspire, I would imagine those. I haven't played a lot of them, but they look better. They look more polished than what this game is. So one of my major sort of gripes, if it were, about Shadow Complex Remastered is it's not like it's the presentation, okay? The presentation is very, I don't know how to put it. The presentation is just, it's not very good. I mean, the story itself is really stupid. It's like really dumb. So basically what happens is she plays this guy named Jason Fleming who goes to, who's spelunking with his girlfriend, and then somehow they stumble across this I don't know what you call it. They stumble across this like secret base underground, underneath the caves and stuff, and his girlfriend gets captured, and you have to find her. And then the whole Metroidvania takes place in this underground base. So it's like, and the dialogue's kind of dopey. Like he has his background and like his father was in like the military or something, and he doesn't like using guns, and it's just weird. Like whenever he gets to these cutscenes and stuff like that, it's just kind of dumb. However, Nolan North does play the lead character, and I think he does a good job. I mean, Nolan North always seems to do a good job, but what he's given isn't very good. It's just kind of stupid. So that's basically... And then the game doesn't even look like amazing. It really does still look like a 360 game, you know. The remaster here didn't really even update it all that much, to be quite honest, in my opinion. I could be missing something, but I didn't find it that spectacular. In my review, I said it's meant to be zoomed out. You're not really meant to be on the level and really close to some of these, you know, facial animations or characters, because to be fair, you don't do it as much. Whenever you hit a cutscene, it does look kind of mediocre. There's a secret, like, terrorist organization type thing underground, and you have to go save your girlfriend and basically end up stopping this this group of evil bad guys. I don't know. So you do it, you upgrade guns, you find them, you upgrade weapons, and it just plays exactly like a Metroidvania. But then there's also little like question marks to see, hey, here's a secret area, here's a thing you missed, and stuff like that. You can go back if you have the right weapon. So that's one thing they do really well. It's like, it's not a hard game to check off everything you need to do. So obviously, like any Metroidvania, you upgrade weapons and items to unlock certain doors or unlock certain areas or whatever you got to do. And you're not going to have them all right away, so you have to go find them or backtrack to go unlock the bonus that was there before. They'll often leave a question mark to show on the map, hey, you might want to check this area out, there's a secret here, etc., etc. I found that really handy, and then all the items are color-coded, so it's easy to figure out what you need for which situation, and you don't really have to think too much. If, oh, do I not have the right item? Am I not using it correctly? That was that frustration was left out of the game, which I thought was really cool. Now, some positives of the game I liked is the game utilizes 2.5D, which is like sort of a thing people might even have a negative connotation nowadays. People are like, oh, it's such an easy thing to do. This was a 3D game. This is not a cartoon-looking game. They look like they use 3D models and stuff like that. Now, what's cool about it is that, like, you can see, like, characters coming from the background, and you don't have to shoot them on the same plane. You can actually shoot them on the background. Now, they have an auto-aim that works, but sometimes it doesn't, so it can be a little finicky, but it's kind of cool to see enemies coming at you in the background. You can just shoot them. There's a hallway. You can't go down the hallway, but you can shoot them from where you're at, which is kind of neat, little cinematic. I really enjoyed that. Now, the other cool thing you do is you can get into turrets. So you wouldn't expect this. So you'll get into this big room and there'll be like 30 enemies. And you'll see the turret and you're supposed to use the turret. So you'll jump in the turret and then the camera moves to the back of him. And then you can actually see what you've been seeing from one perspective, from a 2D perspective, now to more of a 3D perspective. And you can shoot all the bad guys. That I thought was really cool, really fun. And I'm not even this like big turret section guy. I don't know if anybody's like, oh man, turret sections, they're really dope. These are really cool in this game and they're really fun. And there's not like a bunch of them. But now for some of the other bad news about the game design. I had an issue where I almost quit the game, and I wanted to elaborate this, as I did indicate that in my written review. That I once had a save point which completely, in short, effed me over. So I thought throughout the game, there's plenty of save points. I think they're pretty fair. They're not too far. They're not too short. Basically, they're indicated by a little star on your map. And as you go, you progress and you unlock more and more of the map, right? So I saw this little star, and I was going to. I was like, okay, I'll save. And then I was like, okay, I'm done for the night. I'll play tomorrow. Let me backtrack a little bit. So I see this little star. I'm like, gonna do it. And I just got done with the turret section. So I was on the left side of the screen. Mowed all down these enemies with this turret. jumped over to the other side of the screen, the right side of the screen, and then I was like, okay, let me save here, gonna call it a night, go to bed, play tomorrow. I play the next day, jump in, and I'm right where I'm supposed to be, right at the right, and I'm going to escape, I'm going to leave the room to go to my next waypoint, and there's a bunch of enemies in there. And they all just started shooting at me like crazy. And I couldn't get, it was too many that I couldn't get to the other end. It was too many to shoot down. So basically what I had to do was quickly dive down, blow something up, and jump around and get in there. And I depleted about 75% of my health doing that. And it was ridiculous. It was those enemies should not have spawned there. And I would assume a save point, there would be some sort of, I don't know what you call it, some sort of insurance. You didn't have to get killed like that right off the back, or you shouldn't even put the save point there. You should maybe put it at the bottom of that floor onto the next area. But to put it in an area and then you just get spawned immediately with a bunch of enemies, I thought that was absolutely poor. And it almost made me I can't beat this. And somehow I lucked my way through it. That was the only way I could. And I was kind of disappointed to see that, because it wasn't something that was happening a lot, or I found the game to be particularly unfair, but that was just a huge oversight. And I was like, how? It's been 9 years. How has nobody else done this? It was weird. I thought that was bad. Other few things, it was jumping can be weird at times. The grappling hook stinks. I don't like that very much. Didn't find that fun to use. But I will try to end on a little positive note here, because this is something that I found surprising. My favorite part of the game is the boss fights. I think the boss fights are really fun. They're not hard, but they're really, really fun. And the reason I found them fun is because I feel like a lot of games nowadays require you to use this particular skill on a boss fight, use a particular item, in all the video games I've played. And sometimes there are things you're unfamiliar with or don't like using. Here, any boss can go down with any weapon. Some weapons, are just, give more damage than others, of course. But you can, if you dodge enough and want to use a tiny little weapon, you can do it. You can beat that boss. Almost Mega Man-esque in that sense. So here, I was very pleased to go. I was I'm not going to use this one, but I'm going to use this one and just blow them up, and it worked. I think I only struggled with one boss, and it was something I wasn't thinking of. This is coming from somebody who doesn't really care all that much about boss fights. I'm not oh man, that was a bad boss fight or a good boss fight. I'm oh, this was cool that they allowed me to be creative as I wanted to get through this boss. I looked up some other ways to beat bosses, and that's not how I did it, and I did it just fine. I kind of, I hung back. I was more defensive, or maybe somebody was more aggressive, or somebody used a different weapon. It was really neat what they did. There's two things I wanted to also address. In a Metroidvania, there's sometimes puzzle elements, and those really aren't in there. There isn't lots of figuring out to do. I didn't hate it all that much. It was completely fine, but it would have been cool to have some puzzles, because they did have a lot of items in there that I think you could have made a few clever puzzles around. I mean, maybe there were that were considered puzzles, but I think they were so easy that I didn't consider them puzzles in that sense. Some of the optional areas did a little bit. It's more of an exploratory game than puzzles, so maybe I'm being a little unfair there. Now, the other thing I was really surprised the game didn't have was any type of fast travel system. At least I didn't see one. Maybe there is one. I didn't see one at all. And that would have been super handy, because I was going to go into this game and go, I'm going to upgrade every item and et cetera, and get a lot of trophies. But that would have required me to, say I missed something, relatively early on. I would have had to go so far back. And I'm while it's okay and fun to traverse, I'm not going to explore the entire map. It's just way too far. So I was just I'm not doing this. And it would have been really cool to have a fast travel system. That way I could pick up different items that I may have missed along the way. And I didn't see one. That would have been super handy in this game. I don't understand why I didn't have one. So final thoughts on the game. I gave the game a 7.7 out of 10. I think it's relatively lower than what a lot of people would have given this game, especially at the time it came out. I understand I gave some gripes about the presentation of the game, And I get it. You know, I mean, you're not playing this game for a great story or presentation. You're playing it for Metroidvania and gameplay. So if we look at that, there were still some hiccups in there that I felt were weird, or some oversights in the game that sort of soiled it a little bit. But it does play, for the most part, it does play fine. It is pretty smooth. It does control pretty well, and I did enjoy it. Does it hold up to all these other Metroidvanias? I don't think so now. I think it's really cool that the game came out and did it. I do enjoy the fact that there's a really cool limited run on it. But do I buy into it as big as everybody else does? No. And that's just my thoughts on Shadow Complex. So, anyways, guys, if you have thoughts on Shadow Complex or Shadow Complex Remastered, please reach out to me in the comment section, right? You got to do this when you're on YouTube. You point down so everybody knows where the comments are. Or if you want to get on Twitter and tell me why I'm wrong about Shadow Complex, please do. Please join the discussion. That's what these are for. I'm here to learn. You know, this is my first time playing this game. Here to learn, go back and forth on this stuff. So, anyways, thanks for watching my discussion video on Shadow Complex Remastered. Goodbye!